Yeah, people think that posting memes is just posting funny pictures. And if you think that, you'd be correct. That's exactly what it is. But also memes are a really powerful form of marketing. It's pretty much like a prepackaged narrative in a picture form. The best memes make you feel something. Like there's like a knee-jerk reaction. If you think of a meme and it comes to you immediately, you should post it because it's probably good. Memes are a great way to reach masses because for a meme to be successful and go viral, it needs to be based on truth. There's so much noise and false information online. So when people see a meme that really hits, people resonate it because there's a seed of truth. And I think as Bitcoiners, we are lucky because we have truth on our side, that we're not trying to obfuscate, to hide things. So it's really easy to create memes as a Bitcoiner because we're just pointing out the obvious and it resonates with people. And it goes viral because it's packaged in a funny little image.
Welcome back to Bitcoin for Professionals. Today we have a special guest, Arsen Thagapsov. How are you doing, Arsen?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on, Ralph.
It's a pleasure to have you. I'm a big fan, and it's going to be an interesting conversation. Let's jump straight into it. Maybe you can give us a little bit of a background about your life pre-Bitcoin. I'm quite interested to learn about that.
Yeah, like I told you before we started recording, my life was pretty boring before Bitcoin, at least in my own opinion. Really didn't have anything going on for me. But pretty much the way I discovered Bitcoin was I was a student in 2017. I was looking to make money with investing, and I saw somebody, I was in this like Facebook group, and I saw somebody post something about Bitcoin, and I was like, that's a scam. But then he posted a screenshot of his how much money he had made. So I was like, okay, let me give it a go. So I created an account on Coinbase. Then also I created an account on Binance. I bought pretty much every single shitcoin under the sun. And by the way, the day I bought Bitcoin it was like I think 17 of December 2017. So pretty much exactly the top. So I bought the
Wow.
top. Yeah. And so I pretty much bought the top of the market. And then, as you know, there was a 3-year bear market after that. So I had a lot of time to reflect on what I did and like basically reflect on my stupidity. And during those 3 years, I pretty much orange pilled myself, sold all my shit coins, and now I'm like pretty firmly in the Bitcoin only camp. So like it's a classic story. I got greedy, I got burnt, and now I'm humble. At least I try to be.
Yeah. Well, you do seem humble. You were quick to admit one of the issues of shitcoining, but I'm curious. So you bought literally at the top, and then what went through your head as the price kept tanking? Did you panic? Did you sell, or were you just, I'm in this, might as well just ride it out? I'm curious about your thought process.
No, for sure I panicked. I mean, at the time when I was a student, I didn't have much money, but the money that I did have was a lot to me. Uh, but, you know, after some time of studying Bitcoin and crypto, I understood that actually, like most of the things in my portfolio are just pure trash, speculative shitcoins. And and then I actually realized that okay, like I did lose a lot of money with Bitcoin, but now might be actually a good time to buy more. So and I've been like pretty much accumulating and stacking sats for the last 7 years until I unfortunately lost it all in a boating accident. But before that, I was stacking for a long time, and yeah, my
Yeah.
conviction is at an all-time high now.
That's amazing. It's quite the common story. A lot of the guests we talk to, the first entry into Bitcoin, especially people who are, in the US, so on the western side of the hemisphere, it's typically an investment, a speculative entry into the market. But I'm curious about that educational journey you talked about. Was there something specific where it all clicked? What was the one thing that you felt pushed you over the edge and make you understand that it's only Bitcoin, everything else is a distraction?
I think one of the core concepts that really helped me understand that Bitcoin is different from crypto is the concept of digital scarcity. You know, we live in the digital era and nothing is scarce. You can copy paste anything, but somehow Bitcoin, while being digital, is also scarce. You can't replicate it. But with the shitcoins, you know, you can replicate them to infinity. And it's like people talk about Bitcoin having immaculate conception, and I do believe in it. It's like there cannot be a second Bitcoin, even though Bitcoin is not perfect, and there are altcoins that do some things better than Bitcoin, but that's beside the point. The point is that Bitcoin was there first, and it cannot be changed. If we get a
Yeah.
new Bitcoin that people start using because it's, you know, quote unquote better, what stops another shitcoin coming and taking that spot? And with money, you need to know that this money is like here to stay for a long time and you can depend on it. So really, I would say it was the digital scarcity. It's such a crazy idea that something that's digital can also be scarce.
Yeah, it's a paradigm shift. No one thought it would be possible because we're so used to copy paste this, copy paste that, transfer the same files to a million backups on a million hard drives. I think, when it comes to Bitcoin, I find a lot of people struggle with the idea of digital scarcity specifically because of that, because of the years of just copy pasting things and then having multiple backups of the same thing. It's really hard to comprehend. But I think we're turning a page. I'm curious, outside of Bitcoin, because you seem to be clearly focused and passionate about Bitcoin, even though you had to restart from scratch because you lost your keys in a boating accident. But I'm curious, what else are you passionate about? I mean, what are you doing now? I'm assuming you're working in the Bitcoin space, and I'm curious to hear what you're doing.
Yeah, I work in the Bitcoin space. I've been doing social media at Relay for the last 4 years, which is, I think it's pretty interesting because people in my generation, they usually stick around at one job for 2 years. They do the job hopping thing where it's like 2 years and then you go to another company for 2 years, you get a raise, and that's how you progress in your career. But I've been at Relay for 4 years, so I definitely do really like working there. I can't imagine doing anything else. And to be honest, if Relay wasn't paying me to shitpost on social media, I would be doing it for free anyway. So might as well get paid. So it is a really like it's a match made in heaven.
And for our
Um,
audience that may not know, maybe give us a little brief about what Relay is.
yeah, so Relay is a European Bitcoin only app that is focused on long-term Bitcoin savings. So pretty much we're for like if you're a European, Relay is an on-ramp where you can buy Bitcoin in a very simple way and we don't hold your coins. So all the Bitcoin you buy through Relay goes directly into self-custody. And
Okay,
that's possible
that's
because we
interesting.
are Swiss-based and there's
Mhm.
a little the regulations are a little bit different compared to the European Union. So think of it
Maybe
as a Bitcoin ATM, but digital.
okay.
You just buy and
Okay,
it goes in your wallet. We don't hold any user funds.
that sounds really interesting. So it's automated basically. The buy is transferred directly into your cold wallet.
You can do that, but also when you sign up to Relay, you get a hot wallet. So there's a wallet inside the
Uh,
Relay app. So it's a brokerage. There's a brokerage
mm,
interface where you can buy, and then also there's a wallet. So all the Bitcoin goes either into your Relay hot wallet or it can go to your cold wallet.
I love that. So I have to comment about the social media component. So you spend a lot of time on X, I'm assuming. To my non-Bitcoiner friends, it seems that Bitcoin Twitter or Bitcoin X is this weird community. Not a lot of people know about Bitcoin the way we do, for example. And I'm curious, have you seen any interesting trends? Because every now and then, something on X or LinkedIn, typically X, there's a lot of shit posting there, and something comes out that basically takes everyone's attention. And I'm curious to see what have you seen over the last few years, especially since BlackRock has introduced the ETF, since the US is looking for a Bitcoin strategic reserve. Are there specific trends that you're seeing on the social media landscape?
Of course, there's a lot of short-term trends. One big trend I've noticed is that the Bitcoin community on X, which your friends called it weird little community, it is weird and little, but that's why we love it. But definitely the type of Bitcoiners that I see now, it's changing. It's definitely getting more mainstream. It's less hardcore. Back in the day, it was all about running your own node, which you
Mm.
should be doing, by the way, securing your own keys. Now there's a lot of talk about ETFs, buying MicroStrategy stocks. So definitely the the Bitcoin culture is kind of getting diluted, which sounds sad, but that's just inevitable with any growing technology. Like I think Bitcoin will succeed when we stop having a Bitcoin community where it's just going to be money. Like the fact that we have a Bitcoin community now, we know we're early. We're just nerds tinkering around still. So that's like a big trend I've noticed is that the type of Bitcoiners that come in now, they're very different from the Bitcoiners that came in 2017, 16, 15, 13, 12, which that's a good thing. It's a little bit bittersweet because it's changing, but it like change is good. Change is necessary.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the internet. When the internet came out, there were internet conferences, there were internet communities, but now people would think you're crazy if you were to have an internet conference. Similar to that, Bitcoin conferences now are a big deal. I think we're peaking. There's a conference almost everywhere. There's plenty of them. But I like that trend, whether you agree with it or not. I think it's healthy that Bitcoin is no longer being labeled as this new niche thing, and we're seeing more broader interest. But you touch on the ETFs, MicroStrategy. Since you brought that up, I wanted to get your take on it. I mean, I have my personal opinions about the whole MicroStrategy and the ETFs. I think overall the ETFs have been a positive in general from a marketing point of view. Uh, the MicroStrategy, of course, Michael Saylor has been a huge proponent of Bitcoin, but I do have concerns personally around the financialization of Bitcoin and individuals rather than allocating to Bitcoin, they're looking to allocate to, synthetic or equity type of positions. What's your take on that?
I think it doesn't matter whether I think it's good or bad. Personally, I hold my Bitcoin in my own wallet before I lost it in the boating accident. But I think it's like it's gonna happen regardless if we want it or not. There's gonna be people who are perfectly fine with holding their own keys, and then there's people like they like if you think they can hold their own keys, you're really like overestimating them. There's people who need a custodian. So it's like it's not for everybody. And also there's the technical limitation, if really 8 billion people are using Bitcoin in the future, not everybody's going to be able to transact on chain. It's just that the Bitcoin blockchain doesn't scale. The base layer doesn't scale to 8 million people. So there's going to be people on the second, third, even fourth layer. And I don't know what that looks like, but it's going to happen regardless if we want it or not because of, UX. And then also because Bitcoin technically doesn't scale to 8 billion
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, that's a good point. We can wish to have, pure layer one Bitcoin, but be the dominant force. But realistically, that doesn't seem to be something that can happen just because of the slowness of the chain and the
Yeah,
transactions. But
there's a discussion right now on social media. There's quite a bit of people that want to actually decrease the block size. So they want to make it even like more costly to transact. So it's
yeah,
like that's obviously that's like it has pros and cons, but that just goes to show that like Bitcoin, the blockchain itself, like most people won't be able to ever transact on the base chain. So we
and
will
so
need
because
solutions
of
like ETFs and stuff.
yeah, 100%. But one of the things I sometimes have a problem with, and I wanted to get your take because you guys push self-custody. You do a great job. I love what you put out, and you're one of the shining stars in Europe, I would say. One of the few Bitcoin-only platforms, which is amazing. We need more of those. But my question is there enough education on the whole UTXO management side? Because telling people to buy Bitcoin and then sending it to self custody without the second half, which is you need to be responsible for your UTXO management, seems misleading. And given the conversations that are happening about reducing block size, it seems like this is a conversation that's not being had enough in the space. And I feel maybe it's a level of complexity above most people, or whether they're tinkerers or not. That also is a factor. I want to get your thoughts on that. What do you recommend, and how to address this issue in general?
Yeah, definitely. So like having multiple small UTXOs is suboptimal because you will just get wrecked. When you try to transact the next time, you'll pay a massive fee. And there's not enough education about this topic. Like Bitcoiners might have good UTXO management knowledge, but most of our users at Relay, for example, they're total newbies. We cannot, like, even if we try to tell them what is UTXO management and how they should do it. Like, for example, we don't recommend them bi-weekly. Maybe it's better to do
Mm,
monthly, do bigger purchases instead of a lot of small ones. And I think we just have to abstract it away. Like there should be a feature that just automatically consolidates it for you, sends it to your cold wallet. Um, and like to be honest, like what Relay does works really well right now. But in 20, 30 years, who knows? It's probably not going to be
mm,
possible to transact on the main chain. And I don't know how that's going to look. Most exchanges today are custodial. So they can do a lot of things that we cannot do. Obviously, users have to trust them. That's why, for example, on like there's an app called Strike where you can buy, what is it, daily, every minute.
mm,
That's possible because users are not really in control. But when you give people control, it comes with responsibility to manage your UTXO. So what we can do, what we have to do is educate people, but also, more importantly, we need to fix it through product and UX. We just need to abstract it away. Like same with cars. People don't need to know how an engine works. They just need to know how to turn the key. And it's the same with Bitcoin products. And I think we've come a long way with Bitcoin UX, but it's still nowhere near where it should be. And there's always going to be a trade-off between sovereignty and ease of use. You know,
mm. Yeah, it's one of those weird balances that you have to find. And you want to go on one extreme, things get really complicated really fast, and you want to go on another extreme. Basically, you're flying blind. You don't even know if your coin is where it's supposed to be or where they say it is. I love that. Do you know of any platforms that are actively working on solving the UTXO uh, problem, like some control mechanism? I haven't seen any wallet that does this automatically. Maybe because, you know, I've heard of it, but wondering if you've seen or if you've heard of any projects trying to solve for this because from a technical point of view, I can't tell you whether it's possible or not. So maybe you have some insights.
do you mean more wallets or more brokers?
I mean, it doesn't matter because, like in Relay's case, the client buys, you provide the best practices. Don't buy every 5 minutes, don't transfer small amounts. So that's your responsibility towards your user. So you're doing your job. But that doesn't stop the user from ignoring that and just transferring $5. So is there a way, whether it's your wallet, the one that they get access to when they have the account with you, or any other wallet that is building this reminder to consolidate, or settings that you can input so that it does it automatic? I don't know if that exists. Maybe I'm being too idealist, but I would love to see that.
For sure, there are solutions. They will never be perfect, but like, for example, like a consolidate button in the wallet. Well, some Bitcoiners might get what that means, but if you put like in a beginner-friendly wallet, the text consolidate, like you're gonna lose 90% of the people. So first of all, we need to call it something else. but I'm sure there are technical ways, and I'm not a developer, so maybe I'm talking out of my ass. But like, I'm sure there are ways. But also, it's a unique problem that Relay has because we are 100% non-custodial. Like exchanges don't have this problem. I don't know how other wallets solve this. I guess they can't because like doing this would mean that they have access to users' funds. So it's a very unique problem. But
Mm.
it's a problem we have to solve. It's the same with the fees. Like every time the fees go up, it's like our costs go up because we are the ones that pay the on-chain fee to send the Bitcoin
Oh
to the
wow.
users. So
Yeah,
we just need to
that's
figure
yeah.
out solutions. And I'm excited for some second layer technology. I don't know if that's Lightning or Liquid or something else, but
Mhm.
it's like I'm sure like we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's just good to have these conversations so that it's not forgotten. And yeah, let's jump to the next segment. So you founded Bitcoin Therapy, and it's one of the most famous and the largest Bitcoin only newsletters. Uh, what made you want to write about Bitcoin? And tell me.
Well, I think most content that Bitcoiners write, and I love Bitcoiners, but we tend to write pretty dry stuff. It's like I feel like something was missing in the news commentary um, field, and I pretty much just like I wish when I was a beginner in 2017 that something like Bitcoin therapy existed. So that's why I launched it. So I don't write it
Mm,
anymore. Actually, like I gave it to a friend who writes it now, and it's been like rebranded. But I wrote it for almost 2 years, and I called it Bitcoin therapy because it was supposed to be therapeutic to read for people, but it was actually more therapeutic for me to actually write, put my thoughts down because I work in social media and it's a very noisy space. Like most of
mm,
the stuff I see on Twitter, for example, is like it's just noise. It doesn't mean anything. It's not important. So signal gets lost very easily. And I wanted to create a place where it's kind of like the signal to noise ratio would be good, where I can entertain people, but at the same time plant seeds of knowledge. Because most
mm.
people like they can't read technical things. You lose them immediately. So it's like Bitcoin education is important, but you need to package it in a good way where it's digestible. And obviously, like my newsletter, there was a lot of dumb jokes, sometimes toilet jokes, like a lot of memes. But it resonated with people, and I built a little community, and people seem to really enjoy it. But right now, I am 100% focused on growing Relay, making it like the best Bitcoin product in Europe. So that's why I took a break from that. Maybe I'll get back to writing, but for now, I'm 100% focused on Relay.
I think that's fascinating because I think now more than ever is a great opportunity for you to come back and provide some therapy, not for yourself this time around, but for overall Bitcoin Twitter, because I'm seeing all the comments and all the crazy stuff happening right now. I think people are just there's too many Bitcoin avenues nowadays. The ETF, sovereign states, MicroStrategy, all these companies entering into the space for new entrants they get lost really fast, and it seems very intimidating, especially when the institutions and sovereign states enter the playing field. Now it becomes, it's not about the complexity. If you feel like you can't be a part of this because the big players are entering into the market, and I think what you did with kind of the jokes and the memes and that stuff kind of brings it back to where it started, which is grassroots at the individual level. And so I really hope to see you start something new when you do have some time on that.
Maybe one day, but
But
also to be completely honest, like there's a lot of news in Bitcoin for sure.
mhm,
But at the end of the day, it's like most people don't need to know any of that. They just need to know that
Yes.
Bitcoin is going to be there in 50, 60 years, and they just need to buy every week and every month, put it in cold storage, and they'll be good. They don't actually need to they don't need to know what the Bitcoin price is doing. They don't need to follow the news. But for
Yeah.
sure, like I love writing, and I'm not quitting. Like
Okay.
I'm definitely coming back.
Yeah, well, we're looking forward for the next one. So one other aspect that was interesting, correct if I'm mistaken, but for your university thesis, you wrote on Bitcoin and Austrian economics. Is that true? Okay.
Yeah, you did
Yeah.
your homework. That was like
Yeah.
years ago.
Yes. Because not every day does a student walk in and has to defend his thesis, but the student walks in, talks about Bitcoin and Austrian economics to a staff that is probably Keynesian, doesn't like Bitcoin. I'm curious, how was that interaction? What did they think? How did you get through that? Like, I would love to know that.
Yeah, it's funny because so my tutor, he was an economics professor, and I remember sitting on his courses, like it was called Basics of Economics, and I couldn't like give two shits about what he was saying. It didn't make any sense. Any of the like he explained the concept of marginal utility, all of this, all the basic stuff. I was like none of this makes any sense. It's like pseudoscience. But then by the end of my university, I was actually really interested in economics, just not the economics that he was teaching, but he was actually a really chill guy. And I did the thesis according to what he wanted, and I defended my position really well. So he couldn't disagree with the substance because it was
Mm,
really well researched. I had qualitative research, quantitative research. And pretty much the conclusion is that, like in the beginning of the thesis, I asked whether Bitcoin is money according to according to Austrian economics. And unfortunately, the conclusion was that Bitcoin is not yet money because it needs to satisfy like a few criterias. One
mm,
is obviously it needs to be money is the most saleable good through time. So when you buy something today, you can sell your products for the same amount of money in the future. So it's a store of value. It needs to be saleable through space, so you can send it somewhere. Obviously, you can send Bitcoin globally, but Bitcoin is not yet widely accepted. That's just the
mm.
truth. It's still pretty much, especially in the West, it's used as a store of value, but the medium of exchange use case is still quite niche, especially in the West. So yeah, my conclusion was that Bitcoin is not yet money, but soon.
Do you have a view on why in the West it's I know in the West they like to financialize everything, and so they view it as a portfolio asset that, will grow over a long period of time, and it's being labeled as a portfolio asset, not as money. But I'm just curious, what would it take for the West to start, integrating Bitcoin as a medium of exchange? Because we've seen it in certain areas of the world. Typically, they're struggling with capital controls, their currency is hyperinflating, and even in those countries, the uptake isn't as much as we'd like it to be because they still think dollar is king, and a lot of them will go towards USDT. They don't want to absorb the volatility of Bitcoin. But those who have reaped the rewards extremely in those hyperinflating countries. But I'd like to get your take on that.
Yeah, so they like dollar because it's still, as much as we want to hate on dollar, it still works. It's still the best shitcoin. It's still the best fiat currency. And I think what the West needs is, like you said yourself, it's the countries that struggle that usually adopt Bitcoin, and the West just needs more pain. So far, first of all, like the payment systems in the West, they work, so we don't need another payment method. But also, look at the countries that have adopted Bitcoin the most. Countries like Argentina. What's like a common theme there is obviously they have inflation and a lot of pain. So pain is the best teacher. You will not search for a solution. You don't want to fix a
Mm,
problem if you don't have a pain. And unfortunately, I mean, not unfortunately, it's like things work in the West. So Bitcoin doesn't
Yeah.
really have a use case yet, only for obvious like speculation reasons. But it's usually the countries that have very unstable financial systems where Bitcoin gets adopted first. And it's like
And
it's
I,
this. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, it's kind of a good thing though, because if you look at the population breakdown, there's much more that are suffering and being inflicted pain compared to the West. So when you look at the adoption, you're more likely to see higher adoption globally on average. It sucks to be in those countries. I'm from Lebanon. My producer's from Lebanon, so we understand the pain you're describing, because we like to say that what happened to a country like Lebanon or Argentina is happening to the West, but it's just happening in slow motion in the West. And the end result is always going to be the same: inflation, loss of purchasing power. And we've witnessed this over the last 15 years heavily. The housing affordability is just ridiculous. Most of the new generation will never be able to afford homes. And rather than fix the problem, which is the money, you see governments trying to kind of band-aid the problem by increasing the amortization period of the houses. So you can have a 80-year mortgage, meaning you're paying only interest, and basically you hand over your beneficiaries uh, debt, not a property. You literally hand over debt. So that's crazy. I want to jump on another topic that I think you can be very insightful on. So you made the transition, you found your way to the Bitcoin industry. And I'm sure a lot of people, and I get this question a lot: how do you get into the Bitcoin industry? Maybe you can share your take on that. What would you tell someone that comes up to you and is like, how can I work in Bitcoin? What do I need to do?
So I actually wrote an article with a few other people. Maybe you can link it in the show notes.
Yeah.
But there's a huge imbalance between the supply of Bitcoin jobs and the demand for Bitcoin jobs. A lot of people want to work in the Bitcoin industry, but there's not that many jobs. That's a whole different discussion. Like, why is there so much money in crypto? I think we know because they print their own money, they have the VC money, whereas Bitcoin only is like the poor cousin, like the honest poor cousin. And unfortunately, there's way less money in Bitcoin only. Now, I think a big thing I see with Bitcoiners is um, we are generalists, whereas usually to get hired for a role, you usually need to be more of a specialist.
Mm.
There's also probably Bitcoiners are not the best at branding themselves. So it's crucial to build a personal brand. Like, for example, I got hired off Twitter. So our CEO, Julian, he was looking for a social media manager, and he didn't even have to really interview me because he just saw what I was doing on Twitter. It's like, okay, you're the guy. This is like without even knowing it, I built a personal brand as somebody who knows memes. So that was like my proof of work. So I always recommend Bitcoiners to have like a portfolio, like a proof of work portfolio, either blogs that they've written, apps that they've built, like the ideas they've thought about that they posted on Twitter. It's really important to have like a proof of work portfolio.
Okay, so basically, yeah, building the proof and sharing it or having it stored somewhere to basically, the question is going to be, why do you want to work in Bitcoin and what you can do for us? And like you said, it is difficult. A lot of people, they look at the job boards. There's just a few websites right now that showcase opportunities. Most of them are tech heavy as well, like engineers or the likes. And, for someone coming from a more social sciences background, like, working in finance, looking to transition, they don't even know where to go because they view every other company as a technology company, and they've been in investment management the entire life. Their options are BlackRock or Fidelity, and even that, the teams are smaller and it's really hard to get in. But that's great. Make sure to share that link. We'd love to take a look at that article and get more insights, and we'll make sure to put it in the description. So, as a social media manager, as the meme king of Relay, What does your day typically look like? Do you just go on Twitter, look at stuff, and then start posting? And like I'm curious to see what is it? Is it strategic? Is it dynamic? What does it entail?
Yeah, well, you pretty much described it. I wake up and I post memes.
Do
And
you have a portfolio of memes like ready to go? Like you'd be sitting on the couch, you think of something, you jot it down, and then the next day you're like, okay, this is good. How does it work? Like I'm just curious.
yeah, it's a little bit unhealthy, but I'm chronically online. So like most of the ideas that I post with Relay, I get them while I'm offline. I mean, while I'm not working. Like like there's a concept called shower thoughts. Like you get the best
Mm,
ideas in the shower, sometimes on the toilet. Like I get so many meme ideas in the toilet. And yeah, people think that posting memes is just posting funny pictures. And if you think that, you'd be correct. That's exactly what it is. But also, memes are a really powerful form of marketing. It's pretty much like a prepackaged narrative in a picture form. Like the
okay.
best memes make you feel something. Like there's like a knee jerk reaction. Like the more you
Mm,
think about a meme, the less funny it becomes. So like if
mm,
you think of a meme and it comes to you immediately, you should post it because it's probably good. So like memes are very
mm,
sloppy. They're not really polished, but memes are a great way to reach masses because the thing about memes, for a meme to be successful and go viral, it needs to be based on truth. And there's so much noise and false information online. So when people see a meme that really hits, it's like people resonated because there's a seed of truth. And I think as Bitcoiners, we are lucky because we have truth on our side. We're
mm.
preaching the truth and we're not trying to obfuscate, to hide things. So it's really easy to create memes as a Bitcoiner because we're just pointing out the obvious and it resonates with people. And it goes viral because it's packaged in a funny little image. So like that's like the science of memes if you want to like go deep into it.
Yeah, but you make it seem so simple. But I'm telling you, thinking of some of these memes, because I come across a lot of them because I'm on Bitcoin Twitter, and some of them, like you said, it's like just a few words, like four words, and the image, and it makes you laugh more than watching someone doing stand-up comedy for some reason. And I think people underestimate the cultural impact because memes now is a culture. It's no longer just branded social media posts. It's cultural, and they just jump huge reach if it's successful. But do you have to balance because you work for a Bitcoin company? You typically, I'm assuming, servicing individuals, not institutions, as your primary segment. Uh, if you were to start shifting in that segment, would you have to shift the approach on social media? Because memes are typically for individuals, in my experience, working at large institutional asset managers. If I were to use a meme and send it to a CFO, or a CFO comes along, I mean, it's not going to have the same impact. They might think you're not serious enough. Sadly, that's the world we live in. But I want to get your take. Is there some form of balance, or because of your segment market, you're just going all in on the memes without thinking about tone
Yeah.
and professionalism? Yeah.
I don't know. When I send my memes to our CFO, he likes them. So I don't know what you're talking about. No, but of course, it depends on who your users are. Now, most of our users are, plebs.
Hmm.
We also have a segment for high net worth individuals. Obviously, the way we talk to them is different. So you just need to know your audience. You need to know who's at the receiving end. Some channels, like for example on X, you can get away with a lot more than, let's say, LinkedIn. But
Mm-hmm.
it's not totally different. Like for example, if you do marketing as a B2B company, it's like yes, you're trying to attract businesses, but it's still a person that sees your content. It's not like faceless businesses. It's still people consuming the content. So you just need to know your audience. You need to know the channel where you're posting. Is it like what you're saying? Is it according to the tone and voice that's acceptable on that platform, and also the context. Like if you're in the middle of onboarding a new user, you're not gonna like put memes there. You want to be simple and professional. If they have an issue and they message support, you don't send them memes. But if they, let's say they have 5 successful Bitcoin purchases and they never complained, yeah, that would be a good moment to send the meme. So it really depends on like where they are in the user acquisition funnel.
Interesting. I love that. And since you're chronically all the time on the internet, I'm sure you're seeing the proliferation of AI within social media channels. What's your views on that as a social media individual, professional? Do you use AI or are you keeping it more natural, human? I mean, this is a big question nowadays. How do you decipher AI based and real content based? And should you decipher?
Yeah, so in Relay, we use a lot of AI also in the marketing team. So the way I use AI is like as a co-pilot. So right now, AI is struggling with like the most important thing you need to have to create good content to work in marketing is to have taste. Like, I don't know if that's something you can teach people. I think you learn it the more you do something, but also maybe it's something you have or don't have. And like when you post content on social media, you need to kind of know if it's gonna do well or not. So AI is currently struggling a little bit with creating like really understanding of what people like. But I use it very often to, let's say I have an idea in my head that I know is good, then I
Mm,
just tell AI, expand on this idea, give me 5 pieces of content around this idea. Or like for example, this morning I created a Claude AI clone of myself. I gave it 10 of my best X posts and I pretty much asked it to create content guidelines so it learns from me. So now I just tried it like just before this call. I asked it to create a few posts about how self custody is way better than buying ETF, and it was quite good. So if you can teach it to
okay.
replicate yourself, you can create pretty good stuff. But like it's still you, it's still the human that gives the initial idea. So it's good for brainstorming, but out of nothing, it really doesn't create that good stuff. But it's
It's
also like you need to
it's
really,
generic.
yeah, so you need to really customize it and feed it as much as possible. Like but it's really good at learning. Like it already speaks
Mm,
exactly like me, which is pretty scary.
yeah. Let's jump on quickly. So, are you still blocked by the Fed's official Twitter account?
I'll have to disappoint you, but I was never blocked by the Fed.
Oh no, because that's something I think we've seen, or was it like a meme as well?
That's an edited picture. We have a very talented graphic designer who just edited
Oh,
that picture. Also, we're blocked, quote unquote, by ECB and Christine Lagarde.
oh wow, that's
I
an
mean,
achievement.
yeah, and there was a few people who said that like this is fake, that's lame. But it's like that just goes to show that like on social media, like you need to elicit an emotion. Like the best thing is if you
Mm,
make people feel something positive, which is inspiration, humor, education. The second best thing is if you make them angry. But the worst thing is they don't feel anything.
yeah,
So it's really
that's
like good content. It needs to elicit an emotion, some kind of emotion, whether positive or negative, ideally positive, but negative is better than if people see your content and they don't feel anything. That's the worst thing because then you don't stand out. So that's why we created those images, even though they are, edited. I
yeah.
think legally Fed is not allowed to block anybody. That's like a legal thing.
Really? Oh wow, I have to
Yeah,
look at
yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah.
Uh,
But
but that's
yes,
yeah.
we are
Thank you
blocked
for
by
that.
the Fed. I just leave it at that.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we'll make note of that. But that's amazing. Yeah, I love this. So a lot of people struggle with that because people don't want to trigger too much of an emotional response on, social media platforms. But I guess the key to success on social media platforms is to trigger an emotional response. So thank you for sharing that. Quick question. So you mentioned the importance of, when you're trying to explain Bitcoin to someone. to be empathetic. Uh, do you think that is important? A lot of people just think, they lash out at people. You're stupid. You should look at this. My days of trying to forcefully orange pill people are over. I just tell them as much as they need to know, and then I move on. And you hope that in the future you get a phone call or a text asking you, okay, how can I do this? Because when I first started, I was like adamant. I need to save everyone. I need to get them to buy Bitcoin. So, what are your views on that philosophy, or what are your advice when talking to someone about Bitcoin for the first time?
Yeah, I think it's very noble that Bitcoiners try to save everybody, like by pushing Bitcoin down people's throats, but that's not a very empathetic approach, and we are essentially projecting ourselves to them. They're not feeling the pain that we're feeling for whatever reason. And I think you always have to understand where somebody is in there. Let's call it like the orange pill funnel. Like they might be just discovering Bitcoin. They don't really know anything, but they're a little bit curious. They're Bitcoin curious. Like the talking points you have here is very different from somebody who's deep into the rabbit hole, or
Mm,
somebody who knows things about Bitcoin but is not too deep. So it really depends on who you're talking to, and you have to always identify the problem people have. So it's like with
mm,
marketing, like first you understand the problem and then you offer them the solution. And Bitcoin is the bridge to their like solution. So what you said that people are being priced out from houses
mm,
around the world. That's very true. That's because our money is broken and people use real estate as a store of value, which obviously increases the price of housing. And for example, if there's a couple struggling to buy a house, you could tell them that, hey, here's Bitcoin's past performance. Like, here's how long you need to save in Bitcoin on average to afford a down payment or even outright buy the house. If it's you're talking to somebody in a country where there's currency controls, you can tell them that you can send Bitcoin across borders. It's just we all come from very different backgrounds, different narratives resonate with different people. Like some people are really like they love Bitcoin because it's freedom. Some people don't care about that. They just want to get shit done in
mm.
their daily life. So instead of being that guy that screams from the rooftops about how great Bitcoin is, you first have to talk with the person, understand what the problem, and maybe they don't have any problems. Maybe they don't need Bitcoin. There's also people
Mm.
who don't need it. I would
Yeah,
argue that
that's so
people in
true.
the world do need it. They just don't know it yet. And that's
Yeah,
what is really interesting about the current landscape is that we all feel like there is something wrong with the system, but we can't exactly pinpoint what it is. And the people on the right blame the left, people on the left blame the right. But the problem is just that money is just, it's a monopoly. Like, what? It's so weird that we're taught to be against monopolies, but it's so weird that we
mm,
tolerate monopoly of money. Why is there no free competition? And nobody talks about
yeah,
it because the financial system is so complex. Maybe by design, maybe not. I don't know. But it's just like people know there's something wrong. Everybody. But we just don't know exactly what it is. So maybe in these daily conversations with people that you're trying to orange pill, you have to kind of like identify the problem and then guide them to Bitcoin, how it ties into their problem and how it can fix it.
yeah. No, I love that, and that's such a good point because not just in marketing, in sales, and everything, basically, to connect with someone and to have them listen to you, you have to understand where they're currently sitting at, and that could be, I have debt, I can't afford this, I can't afford that. I want to send money to my family. So it's really important to take a step back, forget about your own agenda, and try to solve for their agenda. So I love that. Thank you so much for that, Arsen. So we're almost at the end. I want to ask you about the future. What do you see in terms of future outside of price? Most people like to talk about Bitcoin's price, but do you see us gradually becoming more hyper Bitcoinized? Where do you see it? happening? Do you think with the United States setting up a potential Bitcoin strategic reserve, that's going to change the world overnight? I'm just curious on your thoughts on that. I know you're not a macro specific guy, but I like to hear people's thought on that because everyone has an opinion.
The short answer is I have no clue. Those are my three favorite words. Is I don't know. But also, what's more important is that you shouldn't care what happens. This is, in my opinion, like short-term noise. It's very interesting to follow all the drama. I understand it, but what's important to me is that one Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin. One Bitcoin today is one Bitcoin in 10 years. And your purchasing power will stay the same or increase with Bitcoin. To me, that is the most important thing that, well, I wouldn't say excites me. It's not like an exciting thing, but it's like it gives me hope. That's why I've been working in the industry for 5 years, is because Bitcoin is just there. It's like a beacon of hope. Maybe that's why Michael Saylor bought Hope.com and put all his stuff there.
Yeah,
But yeah, honestly, I don't know if that's the answer you expected, but to me, like
that's
that's the
that's a
most
really good
exciting.
answer.
Yeah, that's the
No,
most
and
exciting.
and
Yeah,
and the world could use a little bit of hope. And when they find Bitcoin, I agree with you. It gives you hope. Without it, basically you have no way to kind of protect yourself from the system. You have to be integrated into the system, and you have to live through all of its anomalies, inefficiencies, asymmetric natures. But with Bitcoin, the way I like to view it, and a lot of people, when you tell them that, it makes them think, is that everything is connected to the US dollar based system. Every asset class, every real estate property is connected to some degree to the interest rate decisions of the central bank of the United States. So even gold, unless it's physical gold, but gold typically when they buy it through ETFs is also affected by interest rates. But
yeah,
with Bitcoin, because of self custody, it allows you to hold something literally outside of the system. And it doesn't matter what happens to the system. It's something that you hold. And the way I view it, the more the system starts, stumbling, more geopolitical issues, tariffs, countries, putting up walls, no more globalization, the more people start to think about their selves, not at the global macro. They start worrying about, okay, what am I supposed to do to protect myself? And typically, when you mention how Bitcoin is disconnected, it's a trigger point where they're like, maybe I need to look at this because, I'm starting to have a family. I want to make sure I have a little getaway bag just in case, something happens. But yeah, Arsen, this has been great. Where can people find you? Uh, where can people consume your content? I'll give you 20, 30 seconds. Take more time if you need, but let us know where people can find you.
yeah. It was really enjoyed the conversation, Ralph. And if you want to follow me on X, that's where I'm the most active. That will be at Satoshi Baggins. And if you want to follow Relay, see my shit posting, that will be at relay_app.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Arsen. Really insightful conversation. It was really a pleasure to talk to you today.
Thanks for having me.